I love playing baseball. I joined a men's league here in Charleston, and my coach came, and we always had problems people paying to play. And I was like, what do we need? He goes, well, we need some new uniforms. I'm like, well, what if I just sponsor the team? How much are the uniforms? He's like, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000, whatever it is. I'm like, all right, cool. Just put my name on the back. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And 2018, I think I did 90,000 in GCI just out of my baseball league.
Hey everyone, you're listening to the Lively Agent Podcast, where we learn from and tell the stories of the most amazing, badass, and successful thought leaders in real estate. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube, and check us out on Instagram and Facebook as well, where we post content regularly throughout the week. Thanks so much, guys, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Today's guest was one of my very first mentors in real estate. He has averaged between 15 and 16-ish million per year as a solo agent without doing any paid lead generation at all. And he's now growing his team, where he plans to more than double his business to $40 million here in 2021. He has fulfilled his childhood dream of becoming a professional baseball player, although not exactly in the way you might think. And an even greater accomplishment, if you ask me, he beat me in a bet for $2,000 in 2018 when I challenged him to see who could sell more total volume. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tradd Bastian.
What's going on, man?
What's up, bro? Thanks for being on the show, man.
I wasn't going to bring up the winning of the deal. I mean, it's your show. We didn't want to outshine you.
I know, yeah, you weren't going to out me like that, but you know, I got to put it out there. I got to put it out there.
It's fun. It pushed me. So it's good.
What'd you end up selling that year?
18
mil.
Yeah, I think you did like 9 or something like that.
Yeah, so it was
which was still very impressive for your first year.
Appreciate it. Yeah, so it was, I'd had like 9 months in my belt, and that was like my first full year.
First full year.
Yeah, so definitely a humbling butt kicking there. But definitely, you know, you said it pushed me too. You know, my thought was, I was like, okay, I'm just going to build a team, and I'm gonna go that route, and I'm gonna get 3 or 4 agents, and between all of us, we should be able to beat Tradd.
Yeah, and you did not.
And it did not. It was a lot more challenging than I thought. But so what'd you spend my $2K on anyways?
I don't remember, man. I probably bought a truck with it or something.
But that's like a thing of yours. You, what did you say? You've owned 32 cars in your lifetime?
32 vehicles thus far. I'm excited to get past my age in vehicles.
Oh yeah. All right. So you got to get at least one per year.
Yeah. Yeah. So I do usually more than that. I've already bought one last year, sold one that I had for a year and a half for the same price I bought it for, with 30,000 more miles on it. So I had a free truck for a year and a half. Nice. And then I bought one, and then a buddy, John Crompton, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
So he calls me up. He's like, hey, man, listen, I got a client that's looking to sell an F-250. Are you interested? I was like, I'm not really looking, but sure, what do you got? And the guy had a 2019 King Ranch with 25,000 miles on it. He wanted $55,000. I was like, I just paid $5,000 for an XL, or $50,000 for an XLT. I'm going to buy that, and I'm going to sell the XLT. And I'll try to sell that for $55,000 and see what I can do.
Yeah. And pulled it off?
Yeah, not yet. Just bought it, so I'm waiting to sell the other one, but in the process.
So this is kind of like, this is a hobby because you like cars, and then you get bored after a year and you want a new car? Is that kind of
pretty much the gist of it? Just get the itch.
Yeah.
You know? And usually I have to fly. I mean, the white one I got out of Florence, Kentucky.
Okay.
Flew in, picked it up, drove it home. I've gone to Watertown, New York, Burlington, Vermont, Virginia, Boston, Michigan. I've been all over the place.
Pretty cool little hobby.
It's fun, man. It's kind of like a mini vacation. Like the legwork's all on the front end, and then you get to fly somewhere and drive home. And
all right.
Can't really work because you're driving, so it's like a little mini vacation.
And you got the I see it on social. You got an old, like a classic truck that you still have, right?
Yeah, I got a 59 F-250 four-wheel drive. That was the first year that Ford put four-wheel drive into pickup trucks.
Oh, really?
From the factory. So I've been looking for this truck for probably about 5 years.
What kind of gas mileage does it get?
Oh, don't even ask. I don't know. Horrible. And it rides like a tractor.
Oh, yeah.
But it's so cool, man. And they only made the body style for 2 years, 3 years. I think 58 to 60. And but but 59 was the first year they did 4-wheel drive. So, and it's a 250, not a 100. And it used to be a volunteer fire department truck for 30 years. And then I bought it off a guy who had it for 31 years. So I'm the third owner, and it had 62,000 miles on it when I bought it.
Brand new.
Pretty much.
Basically brand new.
Not even worn in.
So. I think my car has more than that. And I got it in 2016.
Yeah.
So, but hey, that's real estate for you.
Oh yeah, man.
So awesome, man. So let's talk about business. So you're transitioning from mostly solo agent. You've been kind of the head of you've been the whole snake, the head of the snake, and the rest of everything else too.
Yeah, I mean, I've had support. So early on, I brought on an admin, probably around $4 million in production, which is kind of early in comparison to other people, how they run it. But I just wanted the time, and I didn't want to do the paperwork, and so I brought on a part-time admin, and then kind of kept adding time and adding people, and so now I've got a director of operations, transaction coordinator, virtual assistant, and then my dad handles all the commercial side, and then we just picked up a new agent that has already gotten a listing agreement signed and working with 2 buyers.
Very
He's
nice.
been on the team for probably about a week.
Very nice.
2 weeks.
So you actually, that's pretty interesting. So you ended up doing things in a similar order to kind of how I did them. I don't know if you did this intentionally, but you have your ops manager before you had your first agent.
Yeah. So I talked with Adam Roach about hiring my boss first. Like if you go with the MREA book and look at the model, it's like, yeah, you're the CEO, and I'm like, I'm just gonna hire the CEO. Like, let them tell me what to do. I want to know. It's like my work wife. Just tell me when and where to be and what to wear. That's all I want.
Yep.
Make my life simple, and it'll be easy. So that's kind of what I was looking for. And I had someone. She was great, but just kind of helping me maintain more than like grow. And I was able to pick up Lydia, and she's been awesome. And she's she hired and has been training on her own the VA. So I have not. I mean, I talk with her. Obviously, she's on my team, but I haven't had to put any real effort in there, which is awesome. And then now with the new agent, Lydia's training him. I'm supplementing as well, but it's been a game changer. So he's not quite there yet, but I say give him a month and he'll be on rolling. So
it's so interesting because we talk about leverage, right? That's we're always talking. We want listings because listings give you leverage, and then we want buyers agents because buyers agents give you leverage, and admins give you leverage, right? But the ops manager is the leverage position that creates more leverage.
Oh, 1,000%.
Right. So like you got this one person who now she could probably train your next admin person if you had to bring one of them on. If she can train one agent, she can train 10 agents.
Yep.
Right, over time. So like that's the one key position. I 100% agree. If I could go back in time when I first started, like that's the position I would start with.
Well, and I think talking about that, I would say the transaction coordinator is key. Like for the first hire,
100%.
Just because, and especially if you get someone like Lisa, who is amazing, and she can run circles around me as far as running the back end of a deal, but she gives you the time away from all of the follow up with the lender, the attorney, just making sure that everything's running smooth, and you basically just check in with her and you know where you're at. So I would say the TC is the first hire just to get that level off, and then and it's not a huge expense, and you're not having to pay for it up front. You pay for it when you close.
Yep.
So it's a little easier pill to swallow as a newer agent, instead of having to worry about someone's salary and basically supporting their life, which is that's a hurdle. I mean, I think that's a mental block that I had about, bringing somebody on at a $55,000, clip and guaranteeing them that every year. I'm like, man, I got to get my shit together.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I think that's really daunting for someone that isn't really ready for it. But at the same time, I think I like to hire before I'm at capacity so that I'm never at capacity.
Yep.
And, if I get burnt by that, then I did something wrong.
Yep.
So having the team ready to bring on more members is paramount, because if you bring on somebody that's good and you don't have the systems or the ability to make the systems, they're going to leave. and it's all about retention. I don't want to have, 10 people in the door and 7 people out the door. I want to have those same 10 people for 20 years.
Yep.
I don't want them to leave because it just costs me time and money.
And so what are some things that you're, as you're starting to think, you've got a strong foundation now, we're working on building the team 20 years into the future, like you said. So what are some of the things that you're putting in place or really driving home when you're having these recruiting conversations with new agents to try to make sure that happens?
I think the biggest thing I'm definitely still learning, and how to position that value proposition so that it doesn't come off as me just trying to take their money, because I think that's the biggest hurdle with recruiting agents that are doing well, and that's who I'm looking for. Because ideally, I don't want to have to train somebody from scratch. I just want to support the people that are already doing it well, and then show them how they can grow within our system. So I think the biggest thing for me is just learning how to ask the right questions to get to that milestone or sticking point or whatever you want to call it that they're at and they can't get past. They're at a hurdle that they can't get over.
Yeah, whatever their pain point
whatever their
is.
pain. There you go. That's what I was looking for. Pain point. Whatever their pain point is, and then showing them how what I have in place can then alleviate that pain.
Yep.
And I think that's the biggest thing. And I mean, I like, admittedly, I think that I struggle with that just because it's tough to give up money that you've made. But at the same time, if you've done this, and
you're saying when you put yourself in their shoes,
yeah,
tough.
Yeah, it's tough to give up. Whatever the percentage split is, it's tough to give that up because you're like, hey, this is my client. I worked for him. I did this. But having gone through this process and knowing the time and effort it takes to build out a good team and have the systems in place and all of that, it's valuable. And if you haven't done it, you don't really understand fully until you get to a pain point of like, I'm working until 12 o'clock at night every night.
Yep.
I don't have any time for my family. I'm, running ragged every day. You'll eventually get to that point of like, you just get burnt out. So, and I've been there, and 2018 was a good year for that. We had our second child, sold our primary house, moved in with our in-laws for several months, moved out of our in-laws into a 2-bedroom condo with 3 dogs and 2 children, and we bought a burnt house that we completely, basically tore down and rebuilt fully, flipped a house, sold an investment property, and I did more business than I ever had done ever.
It's like you like punishment.
Pretty much, like, yeah.
You enjoy pain.
I was definitely a glutton for punishment that year. It was hard, and that was the year that I basically said I can't do this anymore. Like, I can't continue this path because it's going to end with a divorce. It's going to end with me burnout and not loving what I do, which I truly enjoy, helping people, and real estate just happens to be the vehicle that I've chosen to do that.
Yep.
But it was hard, and I don't think that I could have kept going and continued to have the lifestyle that I want while doing that. And I probably could do more business, but it would have been a detriment to my health, my family, and everything else. So that was the year that I started looking at switching.
Yep.
And I was like, I just can't do this anymore. So I moved brokerages. Not that there's anything bad with where I was. It was just I wanted a place that had more training, more support, more systems, and like my referral game has completely blown up. It's crazy. Like, I went from maybe a referral from random people that I knew around the South Carolina, maybe North Carolina, to reaching out to people across the country. And the first year that I was with KW, I think I did, I don't know, maybe 5 referrals, which more than covered my split to the brokerage.
Wow. Yep.
And then last year I did, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15, something like that. I mean, I did like 70,000 in GCI just off of KW referrals. So,
Crazy.
I mean, it more than pays for the investment into the system of KW, and I'm getting more than just those referrals out of it. I'm also getting, the benefit of the people that are around me to just bounce ideas off of. So, I mean, I love talking shop with people in my own market, but sometimes I got those secrets that I don't want to really share. I'm like, hey man, let's spitball this idea. You're not in my market. You can use it. I don't care. Tell me how it works. Tell me if it doesn't work, then you can save me time.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so I mean, I think that it's good. It's been an interesting road. It's been an interesting road. I've definitely had to slow down to speed up, and I feel like this is the year that it's finally kind of catching up. So 2019 and 2020, a little bit of a slowdown as far as my production, but that was hiring the right person, getting the systems in place, and just getting all the pieces together. And it's never going to be perfect, so it's always evolving. And that's the other thing that I love about bringing on new people is like they've got new ideas. Mm-hmm. And it's not the trad show. It's like, hey, listen, I don't know what I don't know. So if you've got some cool stuff that you want to add to this, let's do it. We just got to make it make sense. Yeah. I'm not going to buy billboards just because you think you want a billboard. You got to show me the return. So I think that's the cool piece about having a true team where everyone provides value while receiving value. So
and you get ultimately with the team, you're kind of getting economies of scale right through the system and through getting your time back. Right. So like when you talked about earlier, sometimes it's hard to convey the value and make sure the agents understand the value of the team system for that commission split versus the time they get back. Right. But the reality is we all do that.
Of course.
Like that shirt, right? You probably could have gone out and fabricated your own linen and then got your own sewing machine and figured out how to sew a shirt. But it's probably a lot easier just to pay like, I don't know, it looks like a nice shirt, $20 for that shirt or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or same thing with that watch. You probably didn't make that watch, right? But there's somebody else who's really good at making watches. You're like, let me just pay them.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason in our business, right? Specifically in our business, it's a little bit harder to like wrap our head around that exact same concept.
And I think I just read a book called Who Not How.
Love it. Great book.
It hit it the right time where I was thinking like, hey, so the difference between having a buyer's agent versus having agents that do both sides. I'm like, what is my ultimate goal? I want to get out of production. I love what I do, but ultimately I want to have more time with my family. I've got 2 young kids. I want to be there for all the stuff. Like, I don't want to be at the office when they're doing a dance recital or playing a soccer game or whatever. I want to be able to be there. The only way I can do that is having people in place. Now, I'm going to make less money per deal, but that's the rub that I'm willing, or that's what I'm willing to accept to get that time. So I think that having that leverage allows you to have the lifestyle that you want, and that's part of the value prop that I'm positioning to agents. And it just depends on where they're at in life. I mean, if your kids are grown and they're out of the house and you're just hustling and you don't need anybody, then you're not the right fit for me, and that's cool. I'm not forcing anything on anybody. I'm just throwing out an idea. Hey, what do you think? No? Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
So
let's talk about, even as a solo agent, so you don't pay for any lead generation. You're doing $16 million a year on average, sometimes up to 18, without paying for leads. And so that means, this is all referral business, repeat business, networking. This kind of ties into your dream of being a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So kind of circle back to that and tell us a little bit more about how all that works and how you've been able to grow that.
Yeah, for sure. So baseball has been something that's been in my life since I was probably like 5 or 6 years old. My dad.
Who's your favorite player back in the day?
I would say from the pitching standpoint, probably like John Smoltz.
Really?
Just because, I was a Braves fan growing up.
Smoltz over Maddox, huh?
Yeah, I just liked Smoltz's attitude. He kind of looked like he was a badass a little bit more. So Maddox looked like you could just push him over with the wind.
Yeah.
Smoltz, I was like, I don't know if I want to be in an alleyway with him.
Yeah.
He wasn't a big dude, just kind of looked like he could do something. I don't know.
Intimidating looking guy.
Yeah, just a little bit. But yeah, so my dad played ball through college, got picked up by the Pirates, and went in the minor leagues and bounced around for a little while.
Oh, wow.
And then, so that was like, well, he can do it, so can I. You know what I mean? And so I grew up playing ball, didn't quite make it pro, but I joined a men's league here in Charleston, and I've been in the league for at least 11 years now. And the first couple of years, I was still getting my feet wet in real estate, not really know what I was doing, blah, blah, blah. But I was developing relationships with those guys, which is what any business is about, but specifically real estate. I mean, if you're not a relationship kind of person, you just need to get something else.
Yep. Yeah, you're going to hate it.
Yeah, you're absolutely going to hate it. And so for good or bad, I am very much so. My wife gives me crap about it sometimes just because you're like, you talk to like everybody in the room. I was like, yeah, I know them all.
Yeah, you probably can't go anywhere with that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I can have like a 10-minute conversation with someone, and then I'm moving to the next person, and we're having a conversation. Yeah. So and then you go deep dive later, but yeah. So when I started making a little bit more money, I was like, okay, so my coach came, and we always had problems people paying to play, and I was like, what do we need? He goes, well, we need some new uniforms, but they're already complaining about the league fees. I'm like, well, what if I just sponsor the team? How much are the uniforms? He's like, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000, whatever it is. I'm like, all right, cool. Just put my name on the back. He goes, really? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I started that, and I would say, I don't know, maybe 2017, I actually started seeing a return on it. And 2018, I think I did 90,000 in GCI just out of my baseball league.
Just from the team.
Yep. I mean, not just them, but like them and then people they knew that referred me to their friends or whatnot. So it was just really cool to kind of see all of that come into play. So basically, I got paid to play baseball.
Not bad for $1,500 a year investment.
Exactly.
And you got paid to play. That's the definition of a pro baseball player.
Exactly.
If I've ever heard one.
And I think I made more than most people in the minor leagues.
You probably did. Yeah.
So, and I didn't have to go all over the country either.
Well, and along those same lines, like if you look at just the concept of that strategy, you could be a professional beer drinker, you could be a professional book reader, you could be a professional whatever you want to do. If you take the initiative to put that group together, make it happen, and just kind of lead the way, whether it's buying uniforms or whatever.
And basically my thing, and I've people ask me about it all the time, like, what are you doing? How are you doing this without having to pay for Zillow and pay for all this stuff? I'm like, well, I'm from here, so that helps for sure. I mean, I've got a little bit of a head start on most people that moved here. That said, I mean, I think my people from high school and growing up, I've got a handful. I mean, several, but not like, it's not the lion's share of my business. I mean, by any means. So like, it's not just people I grew up with. It's also the friends of friends and whatnot. But for agents that ask me that stuff, I'm like, what do you like to do? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you do on your downtime? Turn that into lead generation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because you're doing something that you love. Like, I love playing baseball, and it's fun, and I'm literally getting paid to play. Like, I've got a client right now that I'm working with that was a referral from a team member who is looking up to $1.9 million. Come on, I'll buy $3,000 or whatever it is for uniforms. I mean, that right there alone is a huge return.
All day. Yep.
So it just
all day.
If you can, but you have to be there. You can't just put your name on the back and then not show up. And that's the networking part of it. So I mean, instead of me going to a bunch of networking events where I'm sitting there going, I don't really know any of these people. I'm on a team now, and they're going. I don't even need to talk to them about real estate. They're going to naturally come to me eventually because someone's going to be like, oh, I was sitting at a table last season, at the end of the season, and I think 5 of the 7 guys I'd either worked with or was working with currently to help them get a house or sell a house. And I was like, all right, I got to get the last 2.
And there's something, you got it right. You got to complete the circle. But there's something about, same thing from the gym, right? I've always kind of joked about it. If somebody asked me like what I would do if I was starting in a brand new city, and not joking, actually, 100% serious, but I would go join like 3 or 4 different CrossFit gyms and just bop around to each one and make relationships. Because there's something about, if it's baseball or if it's CrossFit, it doesn't really matter. But bleeding and sweating with somebody, or some sort of camaraderie, and you have that thing in common. Like, there's a trust that's built there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's the thing. It also you've got to be yourself. You can't fake it, which I don't want to do, nor do I ever really. I just don't have the effort. I don't have the ability to bullshit it. But you have to be your authentic self, and there's nothing more authentic than you busting your ass in a gym or playing ball in a field and going through those trials and tribulations, whether it's the gym or in a game or whatever. I mean, like there's emotion there. And when you share that emotion, whether it's anger or happiness or sadness or whatever, that builds that level of trust as well.
For sure.
And it's just an easier, it's the low-hanging fruit at that point. Now, it takes more time for that fruit to develop, but it's a hell of a lot easier than picking up a Facebook lead and trying to nurture them for 6 months, and then they call their cousin instead.
Right.
So it's just
try to find a relationship in there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something that, again, it's something that I enjoy doing. So I mean, it's not even work, and that's the cool thing about this industry is that I don't look at it as work because I am naturally outgoing and I naturally like talking with people and trying to provide value. So it's a good fit for me, and I don't have to work at it.
Yep.
There's other things I have to work at,
Yep.
like my organization, my systems, and everything else that runs a business. But I mean, that's what I went to. I mean, I went to school for business management, and I got an MBA for business administration. So I mean, I got enough knowledge, and then learned a lot post school, more so I think outside of school, just because it's always evolving, it's always changing. You can never put it. Okay, I got it now. It's like kids.
Yep.
Each stage, you're like, as soon as you figure it out, you're like, oh, okay, I got it. And they change on you. You're like, shit. I thought you were just doing this.
That's a whole nother ballgame.
Oh, man.
Yeah, raising kids.
Yeah. Well, it's fun. I mean, I think it's the same as a team. I mean, your family is your team, just like, your real estate team is your family, essentially. I mean, you're all working to help each other and help each other grow. Like, if like this new agent, I've known him for 13 years. I've been telling him for at least the last 6 or 7 that he should be a real estate agent. I'm like, dude, you've got the attitude. You can talk with people. You don't bullshit. You would crush it. And he finally got his license. And hell, man, I think maybe in his first week, if not his second week, he already had a listing agreement signed. I'm like, I told you, man. I've been trying to tell you for years. He goes, damn, that was easy. I was like, that ain't done yet, but yes, that was, and go get more.
Yep.
So, and I think that's the biggest thing is just getting past that initial hurdle of getting your first deal under your
100%.
belt.
So what would you say, on that note, we got a couple minutes left here. So what would you say to, let's say to a new agent coming in, right? I guess you've had that conversation recently, but someone who is getting into the business right now with the current landscape of things, remembering, what it's like to be a new agent, what would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
With the current market, I think that just staying focused on building those relationships, because that, and it's hard because you're not going to see immediate gratification out of that, because it takes time for you to build that level of trust with people, even if you've known them your whole life. I mean, family can be some of the most difficult people to work with sometimes because they look at you as, I've worked with my uncle, I've worked with my brother, I've worked with my dad, I've worked with a bunch of people, but it's hard because they look at you as their nephew or their son or their brother. They don't look at you as a real estate professional. So call your family and friends first, but they may be more difficult than somebody that you just pick up off the street sometimes. Mm-hmm. So building those relationships and always tracking / adding people to your database. I think that's the key, is having something. I don't care if it's a spreadsheet. I don't care if you go out and buy the best CRM in the world. Whatever you use will work. And I don't think I had a CRM or a website for the first 5 years, maybe 4 years of my business. And I was doubling every 2 years.
As long as you have some sort of a system to track and follow up with people, that's the key component.
Yeah, it's just an Excel spreadsheet
100%
with people's
100%.
names on it. That's it.
Dude, this has been a lot of fun, man. Anybody that's listening, if they want to learn more about Tradd and what you're up to, where should we send them?
I would just say Google Tradd Bastian.
You're Googleable?
I'm Googleable.
That's a pretty unique name.
Yeah, you don't get too many
Are
other.
you the only one?
I am the only one that matters.
Yeah,
yes.
Fair enough.
No, but Instagram, Facebook, I'm on all of them, Tradd Bastian. You can find me. Slide into my DMs. I'll be happy to help.
Slide into his DMs. You all heard it. Y'all heard it. All right, brother. It's been fun. Appreciate you as always, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks, bud.
Thanks for being on the show.
All right, boss. Later.
Hey y'all, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like or subscribe or follow or whatever platform you're on. Just push that button to make sure you don't miss the next video. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.